My name is Lucy Park. I'm an allergist and immunologist. I work at University of Illinois at Chicago. I'm the chief of division of pediatric allergy, immunology, and pulmonology. I was asked to talk about my story. I don't feel that I'm old enough to talk about my path, but if my story can inspire any young people, then I thought maybe it's worthwhile. I was born during Korean War. My family stayed on Jeju Island for 3 years before returning to Seoul. I remember looking at bombed out buildings in the middle of downtown Seoul. There were beggars and orphans everywhere. Although we were poor, we had hopes and dreams. I entered Seoul National University College of Medicine. I was one of 5 girls in my class of 160. Many people, including my friends and families, discouraged me from applying to Seoul National University because it was too hard, or the student body was almost exclusively male. My teacher believed in me and gave me all the support I needed. On the first day at Seoul National University, students lined up at a big outdoor field for the freshman welcoming ceremony. Parents and families stood around the students. A couple of mothers shouted at us, "Hey, you terrible girls, you stole spots from other boys." Such a harassment continued throughout the next 6 years. We often heard professors remark, "What are girls doing here? Don't you know that you belong in the kitchens?" Nonetheless, I enjoyed medical school as I was involved in many different extracurricular activities such as art club, drama club, and music club. My college days were during a very depressing time as tension between Korean CIA and anti-government activists was at its peak. Several people from my class went to jail. We yearned for democracy. We were angry, but we could not cry out loud, so we had to wail silently. It was a dark age. I graduated medical school in 1975 and worked as an intern at the Seoul National University for 1 year. On the first day at work, during the new interns orientation, our training program director said something that it was deeply ingrained into my brain. He said, "Always try to make a good first impression by working very hard for the first 3 months. Once you are recognized as a hard worker, you will be forgiven if you lapse on something or when you make mistakes." I came to US in 1976 without a job. It was like a 무작정 상경. In Korean, it means coming to Seoul from countryside without a concrete plan for a job or a livelihood and just hoping for the best. I went to my cousin's house in rural Pennsylvania. I asked her to get me a bag full of coins, went to Central Station in New York, and started calling every hospital in the city from a public phone. When my coin bag was almost empty, I called a Korean Catholic priest in Newark. He had been my parish's associate pastor when I was the church organist and choir director during my high school and college days. When he heard what I was doing, he immediately called his friend in Youngstown, Ohio, and found a job for me. During the first few months, I worked very hard. Night calls were particularly difficult as I was uncomfortable speaking to nurses over the phone because of my poor English. But it was easier talking to them in person. So whenever I got paged, instead of calling the nurses, I ran to the floor to take care of questions and problems. The nurses liked me very much because of that. After spending 1 year in Youngstown as a surgical intern, I went to Baltimore to do pediatric residency for 3 years, then moved to La Jolla, California to work as a research fellow at the Scripps Clinic and Research Foundation for 2 years. Then I spent the next 2 years at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia for fellowship training in allergy, immunology, pulmonology, and bone marrow transplantation. I came to Chicago in 1984 as a junior faculty at the University of Chicago and worked in the bone marrow transplantation unit, which I hated since too many patients died. I moved to University of Illinois in 1991 and focused my work on asthma, allergy, and respiratory disease, which I enjoy very much because these patients do get better. Overall, I went through longer training than others because I wanted to learn. Also, as a foreign medical graduate, I had to have more training credentials and recognition than my peers because my prior accomplishments from Korea did not mean as much in America. So I worked my way up from the bottom from the moment I started in US. The Scripps Clinic and Research Foundation in La Jolla is known as the best research institute in the world in the field of immunology. The Children's Hospital of Philadelphia is one of the top institutions in the nation. So someone said to me during my job interview as he was looking at my resume, I'm impressed at how you climbed the ladder. So remember, you don't have to start with a top school. You can start low and move upward because your progress and improvement matters quite a lot. During my training, I met a few people who doubted me. Once, one of my superiors jokingly said, he felt really sorry for me. He said, doctors who are male, Caucasian, and tall with mustache and beard will get more respect from patients and peers. So I will have no chance to do well in my profession. I just brushed it off and kept working hard and focused on learning. I did not have time to get mad at those comments. As a physician, my expertise is in asthma, allergy, immunology, and respiratory disease. I got involved in professional society and became the president of Illinois Society of Allergy and Immunology. Currently, I am an elected member of committee for the American Academy of Allergy and Immunology, which is a national organization. As an educator, I taught numerous medical students, residents, and doctors. I've been elected to the UIC Senate and Faculty Advisory Council for the Illinois Board of Higher Education. I did and I am doing this work because I do not see many Korean Americans at the leadership level. And I learned from these committees and organizations how things are run at national and state levels. In 2003, I got one more hat. I am one of the co-founder and executive director of the Sejong Cultural Society. This was created in 2003 as a nonprofit organization based in Chicago. Our goal is to advance the awareness and understanding of Korea's cultural heritage among people in the US. We want to reach out to the younger generation through contemporary, creative, and fine arts using Western media and bring elements of Korean culture into US culture. The idea to start this organization was serendipitous. My daughter's violin teacher told her to participate in a music competition for young students organized by the Chinese Fine Arts Society. They require students to play Chinese music on piano, violin, and cello. This competition was started about 30 years ago and is open to all students regardless of ethnic background. At the competition and at the winner's concert, I saw many proud Chinese American students, but also many non-Chinese students and families who were given the opportunity to play and hear pieces written in traditional Chinese style. I thought that it might be a good idea for the Korean community to have a similar competition in order to introduce Korean music and culture to Americans. After pondering this for a couple of years, I took this idea to the Seoul National University Alumni Association of Chicago. I explained the idea of having a Korean competition that uses Korean-themed pieces as required repertoire, just like the Chinese competition, and also proposed to have a writing competition. They liked this idea very much that they decided to create an independent organization. The Alumni Association provided seed money and promised continuing support. We created a 501c3 organization, but nobody was willing to come forward to work on it. Since I had a clear idea what should be done, have lots of experience with the music competitions, and I had many connections to people who could assist us. So I was able to put together competitions. From there, Sejong grew in many ways. We held our first annual music competition in 2004. After 10 years, this competition is regarded as one of the top quality competitions in the Midwest. Since it was difficult to find suitable pieces to use at our music competition as required repertoire, we began an international music composition competition to discover talented composers who could write music for us. Over the last 3 competitions, we received 130 entries from 5 continents. Our centerpiece, however, is our writing competition, which was started in 2006. That year, we received about 60 entries from across the US. 9 years later, in 2014, we received almost 2,000 entries, and altogether, we received more than 9,000 entries over the last 9 years from US and Canada. Our essay division gets students to read Korean literature and folktales to get a glimpse of Korean culture and history. Our Shijo division is run in collaboration with the Korea Institute at Harvard University. Our goal for this is to spread Shijo throughout US schools to make it more widely recognized. Everyone knows about the haiku because US English teachers teach haikus in elementary school. We want the Shijo to have a similar presence in English classrooms. To do this, we collaborate with the English teachers in many ways to help them in bringing Shijo to their classes, including creating and tailoring teaching resources. We also collaborated with the Poetry Foundation in Chicago to reach out to general public. There is great interest in Shijo amongst general public because it is unique and different from other types of poetry. All of these works could not have been done without support of our board members and Seoul National University Alumni Association. And I'm also very grateful for my family, especially my husband, for their tireless support. I also learned Taekwondo when I was 40 years old and became black belt and taught Taekwondo at the Wilmette Park District. During my childhood, my family did not allow me to learn Taekwondo because I was a girl. So it was my dream to learn Taekwondo. So I want to tell you that it is not too late to start learning anything. To summarize what I want to tell you from my experience, I'll go through just a few things. First, always do the right thing. Stand up for what you think is right. You may feel intimidated to stand up for the right cause, but at the end of the day, doing the right thing usually prevails. Instead of asking things for your own good, for your own promotion, work for benefit for others. In my case, arguing for things good for patients and students was the most powerful argument. Second, having compassion is important for everyone and for every profession. Care for people, especially people around you, are the most important asset. Help others, especially help underprivileged people. You don't have to do everything pro bono, but don't make your life and career all about making money. Third, if you want to see something happen, do it yourself. Don't sit back and think someone else will do it. If you're in a position to make it happen, then you be the one to do it. I thought the Korean community could use a new program such as Sejong, but it did not happen, so I started working on the Sejong Cultural Society. It is like seeing a piece of trash on the sidewalk. Someone else might not come along and pick it up, so you pick it up and throw it away. Even if it is a big thing like global warming or poverty or corruption, don't say that it's too big for you. Every little bit will help. And who knows, maybe you might be the person to actually fix it in the end. You won't know until you tried. Third, work with passion and push yourself all the way to become the best you can. Sometimes you may have to do certain things because you need to do it. Once you start working on something, do it with all your heart. Even if you don't like it at first, you may learn to like it. If you still don't like it after 3-4 years, though, don't waste your time on it any longer. Don't cling on to things that you cannot enjoy. You only have one life. Don't make it miserable. Just move on to next thing. Last and not least, never stop learning. Advancement in knowledge and technology happen every day. Try to keep up with new developments and stay informed. This is especially important for doctors as there are new diseases discovered and new treatment options are introduced at a much faster pace. Also, always remember that you always have something new to learn, and even if it is from someone who is younger or less experienced than you, it is never too late to start learning, and especially to remember that you will never know everything.